listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
Order in the court! Order in the court! It is Monday night, 7 p.m. Pacific. I'm not doing that for the rest of the show. No way. I am not doing that for the rest of the show. It's Monday night.
Darn.
It's 7 p.m. I know. I'm sorry, Shard.
We were all hoping, but that was beautiful.
I am here to disappoint everybody because it's Monday night. It's 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, and it must be time for Mission Log Live. I'm Norman Lau.
And I'm Charlene Schmidt. And tonight we are talking about Strange New Worlds, Episode 8, the Elysian Kingdom. So thank you all for being with us and being a part of tonight's conversation. If you want to join us, you want to call in, you know what to do. Click on the Zoom link or give us a ring. You can do the one-tap thing on your smartphone, or you can call us 669-900-6833. Enter the meeting code and the password you see in the show notes. I'm thinking, though, that the password really needs to be abracadabra this week. Can we make that happen?
Oh, yeah. And shout out to, I believe is it Steve Miller Band? Abracadabra. I want to reach out and grab you.
I don't know who does that song, but I know the song.
Earwig, you're all welcome. So, Char, while we're waiting for everyone to line up in the Earl Green chat room, let's see who is with us tonight in the chat. I'm calling you out, Barry Royce, because guess what? You are the first person here. Thank you very much for being the first person.
Right,
Jim, you are
first.
second. Matthew, glad to have you here. David Majors, new name for me, but I'm glad you're here. John Arminio, a classic name for me, because I love saying the name Arminio. Jane, hi to see you. Yes, Shara. Did we see someone? We got
BC. We got a Paul. Yeah, they're saying hi. Jessica Lynn Verdi is here.
What? Oh gosh, I'm so nervous now. God,
we have a lot to live up to right now.
I know. Pressure's on. Getting hotter. Differences. Norm stays drier. Is that how it goes? I don't think so. No, wait. No, pressure getting higher. Differences. Norm and Char stay drier. That's what happens.
Hey,
pressure. Yeah.
Well done.
And if you know that, then you're as old as I am. Thank you very much. I am. Like, she's like that. Now I'm getting straight up trolled by the JLV. She's like, yes, be nervous. I am. So we have a lot of stuff to get through tonight, Char. We have a really good episode to talk about. We also have a lot of stuff that's happening on Mission Log this week. So give the folks a tour of what's going to be happening with all of our programming.
All right, will do. First and foremost, we got to let you know next Monday, it's July 4th here in the States. We're going to be taking that evening off. And then Mission Log will be back July 11th with an extra long Mission Log Live wrapping up Strange New Worlds episodes 9 and 10. So you don't want to miss that. It's going to be mega. Make sure you mark your calendars for that and join in the fun. Then this Thursday, your standard Mission Log podcast continues with the final episode of season 1 of Star Trek Voyager. I can't believe you're already there.
It's crazy, right?
Wow. Right. So John and Norm will be talking Learning Curve, and it's, that's the one that's the season finale that really wasn't meant to be a season finale, but became the season finale and doesn't feel like a season finale, but it is.
All right.
What do you do?
Exactly.
So then, elsewhere in the Roddenberry universe, of course, with Jessica Lynn Verdi here, we have to mention Mission Log The Orville. She and Captain Mike Richards are continuing their coverage with episode 4, Gently Falling Rain. And that's going to drop on the 27th. And of course, you can find all of the other shows and like entertainment here on YouTube. Roddenberry Entertainment is the channel. You can see the live recordings of that. But if you prefer the audio, you can go to podcast.roddenberry.com and get the content there as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sharon. Yep, we have a lot going on, so we're going to jump right into the recap. Now, Heather unfortunately couldn't be with us tonight, but I will give credit where credit's due. Heather wrote the recap for tonight before she had to change plans, so I will be reading her recap that she did work so very hard on for season 1 of episode 8 of Strange New Worlds, The Elysian Kingdom. Synopsis by Heather Barker, read by Sir yours truly.
Do we all have to call you sir for the rest of the night now?
No. Yes.
Okay.
No. Yes.
Or is
Lord.
it sire? Sorry.
Ooh, sire sounds so good.
It does.
Let's chew on that. Let's see what the chat says. We'll see you at the end.
We'll leave it
recap.
up to them. Sounds good.
As the Enterprise surveys the Dionysian Nebula, a quiet sickbay gives Dr. Mbanga the opportunity to continue work finding a cure for his daughter Rukia's fatal disease. She begs him to finish reading a bedtime story before returning her to the pattern buffer, but doesn't like the ending of the book and poses the question, What if we change the ending? Mbenga reassures her she'll be able to choose the endings when she's all grown up. But first, says Rukia, she has to get better. Afterwards, we see Dr. Mbenga engrossed in the work of trying to save his daughter when that work literally blows up in his face. Number one appears to ask why a landing party hasn't been cleared for duty. After a brief update from Mbenga on his progress, she recommends he get some rest before doing anything else. Back on the bridge, the survey of the nebula is wrapped. It's time to head out when the ship doesn't go. Spock recommends using impulse thrusters to assist, and Ortegas tries to make the ship go again before the ship jolts, and Ortega's face plants itself into the console, knocking her out. Pike calls for the doctor, and Mbenga boards the turbo lift. There's no time for a nap now, only to disembark clothed in the robe and the crown of a king. The bridge crew is dressed similarly, and as we flash from Captain Pike and his newly parted Dew for a picture from Rukia's fairy tale, both Dr. Mbenga and the audience are left asking, what the hell? Now unbruised Ortegas is identified as Sir Adya, a character from Rukia's fairy tale. Mbenga is sure this is a joke, but Pike, now Sir Ralph, encourages King Ridley to have a seat while Sir Adya and he argue over the safety of the king's refreshments. Mbenga questions the computer, concludes that he's hallucinating, and heads to find a tricorder. Mbenga finds sickbay transformed, dense with foliage and fireflies, and occupied by one Christine Chapel, who welcomes the doctor to her sanctuary. He scans himself and then Chapel to find the dopamine levels of them both highly elevated. When Sir Adya enters and announces Princess Thalia, Queen Nevi has invaded her kingdom, seeking the Mercury Stone, which King Ridley surely has. Has? Sir Adya is ready to lead the charge when the Crimson Guard enters with a captured Hemmer, or to them, Castor the Wizard, who is seemingly unaffected by whatever's happening on the ship. King Ridley tries to free him, but the guard relents, citing Queen Nevi's refusal to accept the letter of accords, and Hemmer is dragged away. Sir Adya requests to use the Mercury Stone, and King Ridley confesses he doesn't have it, but he knows who does, and they have to save him. It's Hemmer, or rather, Castor the Wizard. Ralph, Sir Adya, Princess Thalia, and King Ridley plan to rescue the wizard. Thalia and her dog Runa are told to stay back as she rewards the decision with a song. As our motley crew travels the viney corridors, they're surprised by Pollux, the wizard who King Ridley reveals is Castor's brother. Castor and Pollux, very clever. He offers to free Castor in return for Pollux's help. After a brief journey through the Jeffries tubes, the crew finds themselves directly before Queen Nevi, who sends them to the dungeon where they can't produce the stone. In the dungeon, Mbenga finds Hemmer and explains the connection between the crew and Rukia's storybook characters. Hemmer admits to sensing a presence from the nebula that seemed to be pulling the story from Mbenga's mind. The two decide to break free to access the scanner array for more info. Thankfully, Hemmer decides to break free to access the scanner. Thankfully, Hemmer got the magic of the science in his pocket, and engineering tool sets them free. I can't read. Queen Nevi is enraged by their escape. She asks Pollux to escort the Crimson Guard to recapture Mbenga and the rest. A confrontation occurs in the corridors, and we see Sir Adya's sword swinging skills on display. Adya is overwhelmed by the guards when an arrow finds its way into one of them. Number one appears as the huntress Zamira, and the guards scatter. In engineering, Hemmer deduces that the consciousness he sensed in the nebula may be spontaneously generated one known as a Boltzmann's brain. Who didn't Google that when they actually saw that? I did. Did you Google that?
I didn't.
But why a storybook scenario? Mbenga suddenly realizes that the story's off kilter. Zamira and Sir Adya don't know each other in the book. It was Rukia's wish that the two know each other very well, it seems. The Boltzmann brain is reading Rukia's mind, not the doctor's. Rukia is the memory stone, but she's no longer the buffer pattern in sickbay. The computer won't say where she is, and Pollux rushes to tell the queen. Sir Ralph is again captured and swears loyalty to the queen in order to save himself. Mbenga recalls Rukia's wish to see his quarters and is confronted by the queen on his way. He wants her not to touch his daughter, and Hemmer bravely steps in to lend the power of his magic, and then, abracadabra, he beams them all to Cargo Bay 12. In his quarters, Rukia greets her father, clad in the most gorgeous dress reminiscent of the posters for Star Trek Beyond. She tells her father that her friend made her better. With the help of Hemmer's telepathy, the being explains its connection to Rukia. Ultimately, the entity will protect her at all costs. Mbenga is left to decide whether to save Rukia or the crew. He gives Rukia agency to make the decision, and she chooses to stay with the entity. Suddenly, a light being enters the room, envelops, and disappears with Rukia. After a moment, Rukia has returned as an adult woman, with great thanks to her father for setting her free. She's been adventuring with her friend Deborah, who she's named after her mom. She reassures her father he did the right thing and needs to live for himself, which he does before Rukia disappears and Hemmer awakes, head pounding. Neither Hemmer nor the rest of the crew remembers the encounter, only a blank 5-hour window. Number one enters sickbay to inquire after Rukia and the doctor confines that he knows what happened as she settles in to hear the story. The end. Thank you, Heather, for that amazing recap that I severely butchered, but that's what I do here on Mission Log Live. Tell me something to read, and I can guarantee you that I will ruin it unless it's my own, which I will read absolutely perfectly because that's what I do with my own material. So,
Norm, you did not butcher it. That was very good from both of you.
Thank you. So before we get into the callers, because we do have a few lined up, one of the things, Shar, that we love doing at the beginning of at least our recaps is we like looking at the morals, meanings, and messages of kind of like what came to the surface in this episode. So I'd love to hear like what resonated with you. I know that you and I have, as we are wont to do, we have kind of like chat backs and forths. And I know that this was an important episode for you, as it was for a lot of people. So let's start with you.
Yes. Okay. So this episode is such a fun romp that sometimes it's until the very end, you're not really thinking about the morals, messages, and meanings. At least I wasn't the first time I was watching this, but really tied together at the end. What I got out of it is it's this trifecta of loneliness, right? And coping with it. So you have the consciousness and Rukia coming together and having fun, weaving stories. And she's breaking out of her isolation, Rukia is, but also the consciousness, I suppose, because both are lonely. So that is their loneliness being alleviated. But also Mabenga. He is alone, lonely, in pain, desperately searching for something that will cure his daughter at the start. And this is all about him letting go of that loneliness so that his daughter can let go of her loneliness, but as well as her body. It's a really interesting resolution because it's very happy and satisfying. She gets to be alive and safe. She's not going to die. The only sacrifice he has to make is she's not going to be close physical proximity to him at all times. Now, it does sound, though, like she might be coming back at some point in the future, and I hope that happens. I would love to see what she's been up to sometime in the future. So loneliness was the big theme I got out of it. And I know that you went deep because I saw your notes. But I have to point out, I'm not a parent, but if I were a parent, I have to imagine that this episode hit really hard, thinking about either when you're going to have to let go of your children, when they leave the nest, or if you've had to let go of a child for whatever reason. I can just imagine that was right there for you. And after all this fun, it's going to have an emotional impact. That's a really interesting balance this episode of Strange New Worlds made.
I really like how you phrased it as being like this trifecta of loneliness, because I saw that, very similarly. And, there's a choice that Dr. Mabenga had to make, is probably the most impossible of choices, and I think that there is this interesting concept that was being kind of like brought to bear at the very end, from what can be easily considered as a somewhat, lighthearted, comedic episode at times. But we're actually, at the very end, it ends up in this wonderful culmination and study of something that's a little bit more ethereal, esoteric. It's what is the construct of human existence, and how do we explain that, and how what we understand of ourselves are anchored in certain terminologies that are just very finite, right? So, basically, there's mortal pain and suffering, and then there's the release of that. And the release of that energy into whatever spiritual understanding that either we believe in or can't be explained. Maybe at the end of this episode, we saw an example of both. Maybe Dr. Mabenga, who's a man of science, could not see the actual cure for his daughter is letting her go. There has to be a chemical or an agent, or a technology to cure her, but maybe the cure is letting her become what she's supposed to become, right? More than he could have ever hoped. This is the mortal challenge that we have, the mortal challenge in understanding that we don't understand, right? I'm going to cross a couple of fandoms here. So in The Empire Strikes Back, Yoda points his little stick at Luke and he said, the force is this luminous energy, not this crude matter of our mortality, right? Is that what Dr. Mbenga is afraid to let go of? The crude matter so that his daughter can become this luminous energy. There's also a wonderful quote from one of our favorite fandoms, Shar Babylon 5. Ambassador Delenn says to John Sheridan, "We believe that the universe itself is conscious in a way that we can never truly understand. It is engaged in a search for meaning, so it breaks itself apart, investing its own consciousness in every form of life. We are the universe trying to understand itself." So we are this, this embodiment of the universe trapped inside the mortal shell. And all we know is the understanding, the finiteness of this mortal shell. What happens when that's let go? We don't know because we haven't been able to put a finite definition, a finite limitation on that understanding.
Right.
So unless we can do that, unless we can codify and categorize something, it's unexplained, therefore terrifying to many of us. But in the end, though, isn't that what we are, though? Aren't we just a consciousness defined by so many different belief systems? And I think that that's what we're trying to struggle with, at the very end here. Yeah.
Is just, what are we?
Mm-hmm.
What even is life? Is it body and soul? Can we just become consciousness? What happens? We do not know.
So before we jump in, I wanted to get to you have some really fantastic notes. I want to make sure that you get to some of the highlight points here. Maybe that will spark some discussion with our callers. So what are some of the really big highlights that you want to talk about or wanted to bring up?
Oh, big highlights. How about them costumes?
Right?
Oh
okay.
My goodness, these costumes. I would like to know from the wardrobe department, how many hours did they sink into these things? Because they are all so elaborate and they are beautiful. And not to say that the set dressing wasn't great either, but man, those costumes. Whew.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I can feel just all of the energy and the cosplayers out there just like putting it all together for
the
56-year mission
now.
Right. Oh, also speaking of costumes, though, did you notice that on Ralph's or Captain Pike's, his tunic, his brooch was basically the upside down star of command?
Oh no, I did not catch that. Nice.
Yeah, so I was like, hey. I thought that was really
catch.
Cool. So Arthur C. Clarke, famous author and science fiction author, he has 3 laws, and his third law is any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. That's Hemmer in this entire episode. Yes. Right? He's like, I'm a wizard, but I have this technology that looks like magic because I'm a wizard because I'm not.
There, right? Yeah, for real. And that's used so brilliantly in this episode. And for as much as I love everybody hamming it up and doing things that they could not do that would be in character for their actual characters, Hemmer is my favorite. I'm just going to say it. I love Anson Mount playing this cowardly little man, but abracadabra, I was rolling out of my chair. I just loved it. It was so over the top.
I'm going to reach out and grab you. All right. Speaking of reaching out and grabbing, Shar, one more point, and then we're going to reach out and grab one of the callers.
Okay. One more point from me, or you got a point?
From you. I have many points, but my point is to have you talk about a point.
Okay. Well, I'm torn between 2. I'll just make quick mention of Christina Chong's dog as Princess Runa. Oh, adorbs. That cape. So yes. But also Jeffrey's tube porn.
Right.
How beautiful was that shot?
I love the Jeffrey's tube in this show.
It's so good. And it's like it's almost a part, like a side character almost, because they're really featuring this thing in all of its beautiful retro goodness.
I know.
It is just, yeah, they really know how to work that Jeffrey's tube. It's so good.
All right, so we're going to jump in with Chris, our first caller. And I got one question for you, Chris, before you jump into any of your comments. Did you have to look up a Boltzmann brain in Google?
I thought about it, and then the moment passed, and I was like, no. I was like, I'm sure that seems like something that is, I'm sure I'd get an interesting Google, but the moment passed, I'm like, that seems plausible. That sounds sciencey. Kind of Ghostbusters vibe a little bit, but
there you go. All right. What'd you think? Is this show, I know there are a lot of people out there that are saying they're starting to kind of, again, codify their favorites, they're not favorites. I can let this one slide by. This is at the top of my list. Where is this? Now we're in 8 episodes. So where's this kind of falling for you in those 8?
It's probably somewhere in the middle. I mean, it's fun. Anytime when you can tell the actors are having fun, I think is always a good episode. Anson and Melissa were obviously just having a great time. But yeah, it's fun. I'm not always sold on the campy stuff, but they're always a good time to watch. I really like Babs and all the work he's been doing as Mbenga, so it's nice to get him sort of out front and center this week. My thing was not so much a quibble as maybe a question, going back to your sort of like ethereal body, soul, whatever. My reaction was, did we need to see Rukia come back as an adult, especially like so quickly? Like, because for me, that was a lot of emotional whiplash. Is, oh, the sacrifice, nice, good emotional beat, and I'm still processing that. And she shows back up, and it's like, happy ending, we're good. And I was like, whoa, that's there's a lot of directions you're pulling me in, show. I don't know.
That's a really good question, and I've seen folks give different answers to it, all very valid. I think for the parents in the audience, they're glad that we got that I'm okay moment. It's a relief. It's like, okay, thank goodness. But I think there is definitely a valid, like, could we not have waited just a little bit kind of a thing, just to leave it hanging as a thread? But then we don't really know what they're doing for season 2. So maybe in hindsight, it won't seem so rushed. That's my thought.
I mean, those good question, Chris. And I was thinking about that myself. Carol and I watched it, what was it, Thursday, Friday? And she said, you think that was a little too soon? And I had to process that a little bit because, when you only have like a finite amount of episodes, Shar and I were talking about this earlier. When you have a finite amount of episodes, sometimes you really do need kind of like the fattiness, the interconnective tissue of a more elongated series in order to build up these earned moments. I'm not saying that the moment isn't earned, but at the same time, I actually did like that she came back, because what that showed us was Mbenga's, our understanding of what is happening to her in our linear time, where she had this incredible adventure in the span of seconds, right? To us. So now you're dealing with taking ourselves out of kind of like the linear time frame point of view and like reintroducing us to this whole wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey temporal mechanic of what's happening in Star Trek from a timeline that we can't see. So yeah, I think that on one side, it could be like, let the moment breathe. But on the other side of the equation, I thought it was kind of cool that she said, look, Dad, I'm okay. I'm older, but I also did all of this stuff because you let me go. Right. And then named her friend after her mom. So it was interesting. And maybe that'll come back later on. It was almost kind of like she became our own version, this series version of a traveler in a way.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I do wonder, like, if and when she does come back, are we going to have some sort of traveler-esque sort of adventure, or is she at least going to talk about some of the things that she does? Is she going to potentially be in this traveler spinoff with Wesley and Corey from Picard? And then like, are we going to have a massive crossover at some point? Because they're all kind of on this ethereal plane now.
Well, see, I was saying in the Discord that with Wesley and then you have Corey and Rukia, we are 75% of the way to a Charlie's Angels Traveler show. We have Charlie and 2 angels. So
nice.
Someone,
yeah.
Right?
Oh,
there we go.
You hear that, Alan? Chris is just upping you right there on the puns. And I'm sure Alan's going to steal all of it, but why not? I would too. It's an interesting thing that happened there. And I think that, I also had a little bit of kind of like Jake and Cisco in The Visitor, in this storyline.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Obviously the entire storyline, I don't think that it was as emotionally impactful. I'm very personally connected to The Visitor for things that happened in my life. But at the same time, though, I do really like that she, as an older person said, an older woman said, I'm okay. You let me go and I'm still okay. Right? I may not be flesh and blood okay. And I know you didn't get a chance to see me grow up, but maybe you will in the way that I can, help you understand what I've done, where I've been, down the road sometime, so I don't know. It's tough, and emotional episodes do that. They strike everyone differently. They make you, kind of like question, whether or not I was ready for this in an emotional beat. It'll be interesting to see how people feel about it, how parents feel about it. When someone a parent calls in and lets us know, or lets us know in the Discord. That's the loveliness, about something that hits you with such a moral question. So that's, we don't really have all the answers for all of this stuff. It's pretty much this is kind of new. What else you got for us, Chris?
Well, just sort of looking at sort of like the composition of the season as a whole, I noted that this weekend we had the two like fun campy episodes back to back, with the pirate one last week and then the Ren Fair one this week, and that just makes me think that 9 and 10 are going to be real intense. Like, we used up all our fun time. Here we are, last 2 hours, all cylinders firing. Like, whoo.
I mean, they could be, sure. I mean, like, does like our Star Trek always have to have kind of like this galactic ending, serialized story to it? Is this are the reactions that we're having sometimes with some of these later episodes, when we really think about it, why can't they be later episodes? I mean, you look at an episode like this, and I love, Chris, how you say it's the Ren Fair episode, because now like I go all the way to like Lower Decks with Billups and his people and the Ren Fair ship. But I mean, they're your shore leaves in TOS. They're your Cupids in TNG. There are I don't know DS9 as well, so I'm sure that there's Magnificent Ferengi. I remember, that was a fun episode.
Sure.
There are those moments of levity, but they also have really good stories and morals to them as well. So not every series has to be heavy, and I think the tone it's okay if the tone's light.
And for the live action series, I think building up to a finale, I'm sure it will be intense, but at the same time, I don't think this show is going to sacrifice humor for extra plot points to raise the intensity of the story, whatever this might be, what we're, going to end on the season. So maybe it's going to break that mold. Like, I think we got so used to that with Discovery and Picard that we're expecting it out of Strange New Worlds, but I'm kind of hoping that we don't.
Yeah. As long as the story is good, it doesn't necessarily have to take one tone or another, as long as the story is good and it makes sense.
Yeah. Right? And this show's been very good about balancing so much stuff, including kind of like the campy romp TOS vibe, which I'm so glad they're doing. This episode is a prime example of how that can work.
Yeah. And I mean, this show is obviously like really projecting its love for TOS, especially with the Jeffries tubes. Right?
Yes, definitely.
I mean, those Jeffries tubes are like, if they're spot on, they're so spot on. They are like, they are right on the fence of being maybe a little 260s. Right? Just almost there. Before we let you go, Chris, anything else?
No, I mean, this has been a really good season. Excited to go or see where it goes. Fingers crossed for more Jeffries tube content in the final two.
There we go.
Heck yeah.
That's going to be on some kind of watching bingo card. That's for sure. Jeffries tube bingo, got to have that. Chris, great to see you. Thanks for calling in. Appreciate it. All right.
Take care.
So right before we get into our next caller, we're going to jump into talking about Patreon and Discord a little bit. So Shar, you spent some time on Patreon and Discord. How's your experience been there so far? Terrible?
Really freaking good. Yeah. As the months have gone on since I joined the Mission Log Discord, I'm spending more and more time there because it's a really good group of people. We have a good time. We talk about everything. And if you heard us talk about it, you already know this, but just to recap, in case it's your first time here, welcome, join the Discord because there's even more fun there. We've got everything. We have really serious and deep discussions about all of the Star Trek stuff, Orville stuff, any kind of sci-fi, really. We've got threads galore. And on top of that, we've got the cats, we've got food and drink. What am I forgetting?
I love how the cats like reach the top of your list before food and drink, So
well, of course they do. I know your order's a little different, but that's where my mind goes.
So yeah, we're coming up on, I think it's going to be our 1-year anniversary soon, at least for Discord. Patreon for Mission Log has been around for a while, but one of the things that we wanted to do was create a haven, for a lot of listeners who have been separated by COVID. So we started talking about this in 2020, and then we started doing a little bit more with the fan community, with Zoom calls and things of that nature. But we found that we were getting this really wonderful rhythm with fans calling in and wanting to participate in more live discussions. So we started the Discord program off of Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month for your subscription, you can get access to this wide variety and this huge community of people talking about all different types of topics. And it's really just been it's been wonderful to watch and see grow. So if you would like to check us out, please visit patreon.com/missionlog, take a look at the different tier structures that we have, and then be part of our community. We'd love to have you there. And especially with the tribulations where we post pictures of our cats.
Yes, with action figures.
With action figures, that's Dom's specialty. And with Epicureanism, where we post pictures of food. So it's cats and food and then everything else, really. If we actually had to pie chart it, it would be like that. And then we would actually make an actual pie of a pie chart and put that on Discord right underneath
and
the
then
cat.
Post it in the Epicureanism thread because pie.
Exactly. So you see the logic. Logic dictates what we do there. Please, again, visit us at patreon.com/missionlog. Join us. So here we are. We're going to jump into our next call this show. We have Brandon waiting, and looks like he's on the Cerritos.
Yeah,
He sure is.
Waiting for everyone else to catch up on buffer time. But
it looks like nobody's there. You're early, but I wouldn't worry though. I wouldn't wait for him. Just get started with them margaritas.
I don't see any
That
hot
sounds like a good
bananas
plan.
either. The bananas are not at all.
No hot
there.
bananas.
no, I was a little disappointed. You get used to them after a while.
All right. Yeah. So what's on your mind there, Brandon? What did you think about this episode?
I thought it was fantastic. And you guys talking about the Jeffries tubes just actually made me think the lights have made me start to wonder, are they one way? Would you start to feel a little guilty if you were going in the opposite direction of the lights that are always moving in one direction?
Oh, maybe.
Ooh,
Be like,
Yeah.
ooh,
good call.
Unless
yeah.
you
I never
reverse the
thought about
polarity and then you would go in the other direction. So
maybe you have to push a button to let people know.
I bet you, I bet you that,
no traffic jam, right?
Right.
I bet you Chapel
Yeah.
would be up there flipping switches and just messing with people's heads,
Oh, well,
especially
Ours.
Spock's.
Absolutely.
this is what you do to prank people on the Enterprise.
Mr. Spock to the
yeah.
Jeffries tube. Which way? I don't know which way I'm going. It's illogical. The light should be going one way, but they're not. Right.
I think everybody was having fun in this episode. I mean, Anson Mount was living his best life throughout the entire thing. I really feel like the first thing that the director said on set was, everyone have fun. Anson, eat the whole thing, the whole set, just eat it.
And he
Mhm.
did.
And he did. And it was spectacular. Every moment was lovable that he was on screen. I do. So, okay, I'm going to apologize in advance as I kind of bring the tone down a little bit and talk about the sad part. I know a lot of people are like, I'm not going to talk about the sad stuff, but sort of in reverse chronological order, you guys were talking a little bit ago about the idea of Rukia coming back and coming back so quickly, but also just coming back in general and knowing what happens next. And it kind of reminded me of a show I watched a long time ago that really dealt with, topics of death, called Dead Like Me.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
there's a great line in the pilot where the two characters are talking about the tragedy of a child passing early. And one says, she's just a little girl. She can't die. It's cruel. And her wise mentor tells her, it is cruel. It's cruel that she won't know what life's really like. It's cruel that she'll miss out on so much love and pain and beauty. And that's sad for everyone in the world except her. She won't give a damn because she'll be doing something different.
Mhm.
And
True.
I thought that is just like right here. That's what they're showing us is how just tragic this is, but she's off doing something else. And maybe that's meant to reassure us a little bit and help us think about the loss of loved ones through that lens.
I mean, that's a great point to make. And I think that with her coming back, again, we're looking at it, Mabenga's looking at it, and we're looking at it from his point of view of what has affected her in linear time, in our
Right.
linear time. And we can't comprehend like the amount of freedom that this energy of hers has been able to to be able to connect with a completely different, dimension from our own understanding. And what I find so fascinating about that is at the very core of what I believe Star Trek is. It's about trying to understand that which can't be codified, or labeled or dissected or defined, right? She becomes something else. It's like Ilea and Decker at the end of the motion picture. They both technically die, but they become something else. And we don't know what that is, how that is, or why that is, but that's the point, isn't it? And we've all defined that. And I don't mean to speak out of turn. I don't mean to insult anyone's belief system, but belief systems put a definition on what we don't understand. That's faith. Faith allows us to believe in the unbelievable, right? That's why miracles happen. Miracles are unbelievable unless we actually put an actual definition on what can be constrained in that belief system as something that can't be. So being able to try and free our minds from it, Matrix style, that's something that we can't do. That's something that we can't comprehend. And going back to what you said about Dead Like Me, which is a great series, we don't know what happened to the consciousness or the spirit or the energy of that little girl. She, or the being of she, could have gone off and done something. She could have moved mountains. She could have changed galaxies. She could have changed the course of the cosmos with a shift in her energy. We don't know that. We'll never know that. But maybe that's what Rukia will be able to show us, or at least explain to her father. With your sacrifice, I was able to change the course of destiny itself. Right?
Right.
How do we come to terms with that, though? Right.
Well, I was thinking that the reverse chronological order part of this for me is what I was thinking just before that moment. And actually, until I rewatched it, I was thinking, man, I wanted to see more development of M'Benga's difficulty with the decision to let Rukia go. And then the second time I watched it, I thought, is that the message here? That when it comes to choosing between fighting a constant battle to prolong an unfulfilling life or letting somebody go on, maybe it's not a difficult choice. We have to let them go. And maybe in that moment, M'Benga realized, I'm not going to find a cure before she's out of time, because he's telling us at the beginning of the episode, we're down to days, we're down to months, maybe days. And he just can't keep it going. And he realizes maybe very quickly. And as somebody who had to say goodbye to a loved one recently, I found myself thinking, maybe it's not that they're about to run out of time for the episode. It's not because we're at 37 minutes, but it's because when you come down to it, sometimes it's not much of a choice.
Well said. Yeah,
and
but
thank you for sharing that.
Hitting on that. Yeah.
There's a fandom that is near and dear to my heart, Highlander. And Highlander is a fandom that, of course, there are swords in there, which is fun. There are lightning effects, which are fun. There are explosions, which are fun. But at the very core of Highlander is the study of immortality. And what does that mean? And it's an interesting study of people who live forever, having to say goodbye to mortal beings who they'll never be able to recapture, that connection. Like, how do you fall in love with someone when you know that person is going to eventually die? You're going to outlive them. You're going to outlive tens of them, hundreds of them, right? So it doesn't matter how long you live. It matters how you live in that moment, how you live your life in the finite time that we have. And I think that M'Benga understood that. As a doctor, he should know that more than anyone else. And as a doctor, there may be no answer. And the one answer that eluded him this entire time was obviously the hardest, but it was the answer, right? So it's a really kind of like an interesting study on what we decide as humans to be the right decision or the wrong decision, because most of the time, it's a reflection of how we feel, how we react, as opposed to allowing it, whatever it is, to unfold as it should, whatever it is. Again, we don't know. We can't see the future. We can't see the signs and portents. That's for you, Shar. We can't see the sign and portents for the future. I mean, that's just my particular understanding of, the finiteness of immortality. Shar, I mean, we've talked about this before.
Yeah. Let me jump in here. I don't think it's so much about the right decision or the wrong decision. I think it is the best decision he could make in the best interest of his daughter. She can go off to this place where she's no longer physically ill. She's going to be fine. And despite his best efforts, he can't have it all. He can't have her and cure her disease in time so she can live a happy and wonderful, childhood. So you can, I think, see in the moment where the character of Mbenga comes to that realization. And that is just like really good acting, in my opinion, where he realizes that and knows what he has to do. And then, like you were saying, Brandon, then the choice is so much easier.
Yeah.
And then that's when he really starts to let it go. Now, I think maybe going forward, though, it would be interesting to not completely let this off the hook entirely. Let's explore a little bit of Mbenga's loneliness without his daughter. What is life like? How is he coping? What is he doing? I do hope there's some follow-up.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I find myself hoping that as well. And I think what you were just saying was really great because, we know that these are fantastic actors and there's not like, he's not missing out on this being a difficult decision, but there's that sort of moment where there's that simultaneous like grief and peace that I know what this has to be.
Mm-hmm. I think anybody who's lost anybody in a situation where they're going to die and then you just don't know how long it's going to be from now to that moment, you're there. You know what that's like.
Yeah.
We have to let you go, Brandon, because we have a couple more calls we need to get to, but I'd love to have like a parting thought from you.
Yeah. I wanted to try and bring it up just a little bit with my favorite line, which was, we'll try diplomacy. And if that doesn't work, then you can cut something in half.
Perfect.
That was a great line.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Great. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for calling in. Appreciate you for being here.
Take care.
All right. And now bringing up the room big time. We were just the warm up act. Now we have, we have the main stage.
Course.
We have the main stage here. Hear ye. Order. Everyone's coming to order. We have Sir Paul Harveth.
Greetings.
I sounded so like New English. It's like Harveth. It's Harveth.
You do.
It's Hungarian. I don't know how you can say that with a Boston accent, but hey, nice try.
I know.
Brandon's call was amazing. What great observations. Just amazing stuff. I'm going to a different direction here. First of all, I got to give this episode the biggest shout out for recognizing the fans and what they do with fan fiction, right? Right out of the gate, he allows Rakia to write whatever she wants with the characters. And to me, that's just like an homage to the fans and all that stuff they've been doing since Kirk Spock, way back when. It's okay. It's okay. How great.
You literally have Spolix in this episode.
Spolix.
Right?
Yeah, it's cool.
So many Spock and other name combinations in this series, and it's only season 1.
So here's the pressing question. Who is the court jester?
Ooh.
Oh.
It's got to be Kyle.
Oh, great call.
It's got to be. I agree 100%, Shar. That's
mean.
He's so mean. It's got to be Kyle.
And now I'm just really sad that we didn't get to see that. He hasn't been in the last couple of episodes, and I miss him.
We have to do a write-in, bring in Kyle more, right? I think that's.
So, what? You know what's going to go in my fanfic is I'm going to write Court Jester Kyle.
Court Jester Kyle. There you go. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could be its own entity, right? Its own subtitle. So how amazing. And I didn't realize this in Chicago. Michelle and I actually got to see this dress. The Princess Talia, when she walks in.
La'an's dress. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. You just go, yeah, well, that's perfect. She's straight out of Shakespeare. She's got the accent. She's got the dog. And then the dog is so in love with her. Oh, my word. And then we find out that the dog is actually hers. And when you watch the Ready Room, just amazing stuff. I mean, can we say enough about the costuming here? I mean,
I can't wait. I can't wait to see these live. Like, I know people, again, are going to be working on them. And if you are part of our Discord, I did a deep dive on exactly what sword you can buy. That's exactly the sword that Sir Ardya is. Did I say that right? Is wearing, or I should just say Ortegas is wearing. Adya.
Right?
Yeah. I keep thinking Arya, but it's Adya.
Yeah, that's right. You did. And if anybody knows about swords, it's you, Norm.
Oh, I did the whole like Leonardo DiCaprio GIF. I was like, "Ooh, I know that."
Nice.
Okay, so Paul, I got to ask you a question. Ashara, same question. Listener, same question. Who made the most out of the role reversal of their character in the story? Who do you think like had like the biggest impact of the material that they were given?
Well, I have that answer. To me, it's straight up for me.
All right.
Okay.
Who is it, Paul?
To me, it's the captain. How 180 can you be, from being the leader to the coward, right? And you got to give everybody else props, but you can see them playing dress up like that or doing that in the holodeck. I can't see Anson Mount doing this in the holodeck, right?
That's true. It's like Anson Mount watched everybody doing their thing, and he did that hold my beer and then really showed everybody how it's done.
It's like he was teaching everybody, we'll show you over the top.
You see,
that's what it looked like.
I was there with you on that until Princess Talia started singing. When someone starts singing, I'm like, okay, that's a hold my beer moment. It's like, that's nice, Anson. Let's start singing. And I'm sure that he would probably start singing too. But again,
he probably did. You knew he did.
They're so fun. They were so amazing. I mean, like that's the kind of job where you're like, you know what? That's not even working anymore. Right. That's just showing up and just living your best life.
Yeah.
Also, Melissa Navia Adja's reaction to the singing, that was perfect.
You're not sure she liked it or was cringing, right? It's like
genuinely surprised, I think.
What?
What is going on?
It was like
I didn't
surreal.
know she could do this. I mean, we know that La'an didn't go to music class, so she's not half bad.
I can't wait to meet her in person. I just so enthralled with both her and Nurse Chapel. And a sideline my wife found out is that Nurse Chapel actually made some of the jewelry she was wearing. She does jewelry around bees that have passed away from hives. And she found that somewhere. This woman is really an intriguing young lady. And another one I can't wait to meet on the con circuit. So I got two last things before we get to our finale of the evening.
Anchorman.
All right.
We have the quote that we just have to go with. Maybe I can get us out of here with the help of a powerful magic called science. Yes, it's just like, okay, I love that. Mm-hmm. And then finally, I think we've come up with, one of the mission log bingo things that we have to do, in order to win mission log bingo or to be into the mission log bingo club, you have to cosplay as one of these people. And my question to you two is, who would you cosplay as in this episode?
Ooh.
Princess Talia.
You would?
I got to work out a little bit, but
you don't want the sword?
You want the sword?
I'll bring a bunny instead of a dog. That's the thing. Is like that's such a go-to, right? So maybe since we didn't see him, I'll do Court Jester Kyle.
Oh, hey, perfect.
Right?
Then you can do whatever you want.
You see what I'm saying?
Hey, yeah, that's pretty smart, Norm. Yeah. I like it.
All right. Well, what about you, Shar?
Well, if I had any expertise at making costumes and any handiness whatsoever in that aspect, I would go for Rukaya's costume. The Star Trek Beyond dress.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'd go for that.
All right, Paul. And
all right.
You, sir? Sir
I have to answer the question. No, I'm making the rules here.
All right.
I would definitely, I've been told more than once that I could, I'm quote unquote an entertainer. Thus, I've got to do the Anson Mount character, right? You just have to. You got to go over the top and just roll with it and let people, throw their tomatoes or whatever, but just have fun doing it. And then, what other character? It's got to be, that's got to be the fun character to play, right?
I'll tell you what, though, when Rebecca came out as the Huntress character, I'm like, okay, here we go. This is like there's. With true. That character and with Ortega's character, this is like now we're entering kind of like Aragorn Arwen, territory here, with elves and rangers, because she was like because Arya. Am I saying this wrong? Arya
or Adya?
Adya was wearing a ranger's sword. She was literally wearing Aragorn's sword, right? Yeah. So I'm like, okay,
yeah, we're gonna.
Okay, Can I change my answer slightly?
No, we're giving that one to Michelle. That way she can shoot arrows at me.
I didn't say it. Michelle, that's all on Paul. Whatever happens, that's, you want his collection that you can
Okay. Costume wise, I would love to wear that dress. It's gorgeous. But character wise, I think I have to go for Hammer. I want to be a wizard.
Yeah.
Yep. Hammer's good too.
Right.
Okay. We've got our answers and we're going to be in Vegas. So, hey, let's get that mission log bingo, get it rolling.
Michelle, the big yes with many exclamation points. And I think those exclamation points are in the shapes of arrows. That's just how I'm reading.
There you go.
That's the hook for Paul to leave.
Oh, that's so funny.
Live long and prosper
Michelle.
all. What a tremendous night. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Paul. All right, wrapping up our show, we have Sir Alan. What's happening,
sir?
Hi, Norm. Hi, Shar. How's everything going for you guys tonight?
So what's going on with your background there? Can explain that a little bit?
This is the USS Riverside, because this weekend I was in Trek Fest, baby.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. In a nutshell, how did it go?
It was very fun. It was super hot, so I only stayed for like half the day. But I mean, it's the way that I like to think of it is it's like everybody's hometown has their thing. I come from a town where their festival was called Septemberfest, happens over Labor Day. There's your squash festivals, your steamboat days, whatever your town has, it's that, but with like a nice Star Trek overlay, and it's super fun, all because 37 years ago some ingenious Iowan was like, they say that Kirk is from here, what if he was from here? And the legend is born. And this year they had Bob and JG come out and do their thing. They were in costume for the parade and for the photo op immediately afterwards. And boy, mad props to those guys, because it doesn't matter if it's the Rio or a town that could fit inside the Rio Hotel. They go all out.
Yeah, that's super cool.
They love their fans, that's for sure. That
Absolutely,
is for sure. Well, I'm glad you had a great time there, and I was just
Quite.
We saw a great picture of you. So, is that what was on your T-shirt? That you were wearing.
Oh, the T-shirt is the Enterprise, I think, being built because at least in the Kelvin timeline, that's where it happened. You can kind of see there's like,
Oh, okay. Oh, 47. Nice.
You got your 47 there, and then the boys themselves are on there as well.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But everything went super well.
Nice. But you mentioned it was really hot. So was this outdoors?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this is, like I said, it's very much, inflatables and sand volleyball and bands on a band shell, but also Star Trek costume contest.
Oh, okay. What did you see that was like super, super, super interesting?
Lots of good. There was one lady who had a really nice Monster Maroon costume. She won one of the prizes.
Did she win for not sweating?
Yeah, good for you.
Seriously,
good for you, lady. And there was a. Speaking of not sweating, there was a group who showed up as Rysians, who were in essentially bathing suits. So more good on you guys.
That was smart.
Lots of cute kids, a couple of like old school Klingons without all the prosthetics, which was probably another smart move. So yeah,
definitely.
All good. I was thinking that if I wanted to, I probably could wear my pirate gear from last week, paint myself green, and go as an Orion and still make it into the contest.
Yeah.
Very bold. That's a very bold decision.
Exactly.
So this episode.
Oh man,
where were you? Where were you on the on the spectrum of this episode?
Very much enjoyed. Very much. I loved it, and it really touched me on a very personal, emotional level. And I'll get into that in a little bit, maybe a little bit towards the end. But man, yeah, just so much fun, flat out, straight up fun. And you guys were talking with Paul about what character you'd be, what all the things. Just it set my D&D nerd heart happy to see a wizard and a sorcerer and a ranger and a fighter and probably your crappy town master in Pike's character,
mm-hmm.
the NPC, or the good king character. It was just so much good stuff. I think I would probably, if I were going to do it just for comfort and convenience sake, I would probably want to be Sorcerer Spock. I thought that was a really smart.
And Ethan looked good. I mean, he pulled that off.
Oh man, yeah. And probably my favorite line reading was his. I think he was just like in one of the confrontations. He was like, "He's bluffing, sir." he doesn't do that, man. just totally like nonchalantly just dropping that in there. That was great. But yeah, and the way that it was constructed as sort of like this fairy tale storybook thing, where and it's from a child's perspective and they can do whatever they want to. So yeah, Ortegas gets to be the character who's a man in the book.
Mm-hmm.
She can have a relationship with the forest ranger character who never actually meet in the book, because that's the story that you want to tell,
right?
And that's lovely.
That's what happens
kind of
when
like
you're writing the story.
It's like her own holodeck adventures,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just the idea that we don't necessarily have to. I mean, it's not like this is to the degree of, or to the extent of like, well, I love the 3 Indiana Jones movies because we don't talk about the 4th one that we refuse to acknowledge. But you don't have to necessarily take things that are presented to you either in fiction or in the real world the way that it's presented to you. We all have the choice and the opportunity to see what it means to us and how we want to take the things, the stories that are presented to us, and we can choose to write our own endings if we choose to, which is
essentially cool. with D&D and with fantasy, and I mean basically it all, like, both, there are 2 trees that all of this stems from: Robert E. Howard and J.R.R. Tolkien. Right? You either have the high fantasy or you have sword and sorcery, and from those 2 trees, a billion branches have been born from those, especially with Gary Gygax. And with Gen Con, like being up there in Geneva, Wisconsin, so this is high fantasy, and it's a high fantasy story as told by a young girl who has been told the story before, and it's almost kind of like it's almost like Fred Savage at the very beginning of The Princess Bride saying, like, is this a kissing story? Because maybe there wouldn't be any kissing in his story, or maybe he would want to see something done a different way because he's heard this story as told by Grandfather Columbo over and over and over and over again. Right. So that's where you take take ownership of, yes, the story means something and it's very important, but then it becomes even more important because it becomes your own.
Yeah.
Or it becomes a part of you.
There you go.
And as far as, and I'll just say that, as far as the emotional connection, definitely with the ending, I wrote about this on the Discord, and I won't get into all the nitty gritty, but as someone who has had to say goodbye to, probably the most important person in my life, it just perfectly encapsulated for me the emotional experience of having that kind of a situation. And just like what you were discussing earlier with Brandon about how it's a very complicated set of emotions, and you would think that it's going to be one way, but it's completely different. And in terms of writing the ending that you want, for me, and I know that I think I've seen it discussed where some people are sort of iffy on having adult Rukia come back at the end, but as someone who has gone through something very similar, for me that is the storybook ending, because that's the ending that you want more than anything else, is to be able to hear from that person and know that they're okay, and that everything's going to be fine. So the fact that he got that is just mind-blowing to me, because that's all you want to hear.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Alan, for sharing that with us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you and appreciate you calling in. And we are at the end of our show. So that
can't end it any better.
Well, here's the great thing about new Star Trek series, when they are presented to us, we're all going to interpret these episodes and each one of these series in a very different way. We're to either externalize them or internalize them. But the most important thing is that we get a chance to be able to see how it accesses certain things about ourselves that we can talk about and share, right? I think that's the beauty of great narrative. It's going to inspire us to be able to do something. It's going to give us the strength to be able to challenge ourselves, to be able to communicate and connect with what we're doing right now. Alan, I think what you just said was absolutely beautiful. Yep. And
Agreed.
That's something that was able to be, that you were able to communicate and connect with from this episode. That's what entertainment's supposed to do. Right. That's what all of this is here for. All of us is, it gives us the opportunity to be and share the human experience with each other. So on that note, anything left to say, Shar, about this episode, or anything that's on your mind before we close out the show?
Not particularly. We hit the fun stuff. We hit the serious stuff. I think we've connected to this episode on every level we needed to hit.
All right, then. So here we are at the end of the show. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your stories and being able to connect with us here at the show. Mission Log Live is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment. Technical production on Mission Log and Mission Log Live by the Duke of Earl Green. Be sure to visit podcast.roddenberry.com for the latest from Roddenberry Podcasts. If you would like to support Mission Log directly, give us a look at patreon.com/Mission Log. Thank you, Shar, for being here with us this week. Appreciate you being able to do that for us.
Hey, thanks for having me. It was a blast, as always.
As always. And please remember, as Shar said earlier in the show, we will be off next Monday night, July 4th. No show on July 4th. We will return to wrap up episodes 9 and 10 of Strange New Worlds with a double-length Mission Log Live on July 11th.
Woo!
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.